Hello and welcome to this handover video of the Polestar 4. Throughout this video we're going to have a little look at some of the key features around the outside of the vehicle, charge flap, under the boot, under the bonnet, and then we'll focus on the major system aspects and getting yourself set up with the vehicle. Wonderful. So we're currently using this vehicle here, which is our demonstrator vehicle, finished in electron blue metallic. This particular car comes with the Plus pack, which of course all of them do as standard, but also the Pro pack and the Pilot pack. In the next couple of mini videos we're going to go through some of the heat map areas around the vehicle, just so you can get the bits from the outside of the car, and then we'll find our way into the vehicle. Okay, so starting with the keyless entry system. Now we know the doors are unlocked because we can see the handles are out of the bodywork and the wing mirrors are currently out. The cars do have the function where as you walk away from the vehicle it will lock, as long as you get far enough away. There we go. And obviously handles withdraw, and so do the wing mirrors. As we approach we can have it so that the function also picks up that we are near the car, and then the handles will appear and in we get. We also have the ability to use the little aspect on the door, and that is on all four doors, by the way, so you can single out one door or you can have it so all doors function that way. That is the keyless aspect if you want to actually physically touch the car to make sure it's locked. So getting into the boot, we have the button which is just here, you can see here, to be able to open the boot. We do also have the ability to simply swipe our foot left or right, normally around the sensor that's here, and that will open the tailgate for us, and then we have our boot. Now closing that back down, we then have obviously the button on the boot itself, or again we can use the gesture function to just simply close that back down. So one of the most important aspects from the outside of the car is of course the charge flap. This can be opened from within the car, but alternatively a little tap on there. It is an electrically opening and closing, so try not to force it too much, but that will then give us access to our Type 2 Mode 3 aspect, and then the little plug allows us to access the DC charger, and then of course close button here will then close that up nicely. Good thing to note, as like a bit of a fail-safe, if you've taken your lead out, pop it in the boot and you walk in the house, when the car does the gesture and lock function, it will actually close the fuel cap, charge cap for you anyway. Okay, so the last exterior aspect we'll look at is getting under the bonnet. So pull the lever twice, that will then release the safety catches for the bonnet, and then as we come around just simply lift up and we have access to the frunk like so, and then of course washer screen fluid on the right hand side there. Okay, and last but not least before we jump into the car, seat adjustments, fully electric. Vertical lever is your backrest, horizontal lever will move the seat forwards and backwards and also tilt the front or the rear up and down, and then of course you've got your lumbar support on the front there. And then what we do have finally is around the front of the seat is a little lever you can just about see here, which allows us to extend the cushion extensions. Okay, so we now find ourselves in the vehicle, and of course we're going to start going through cockpit area, so everything to do with the driver's section. We will go through the touchscreen. We'll also highlight the bits and bobs above us here, and then the final part of the video we will actually be in the rear of the vehicle showing you some of the features that are in the back. But starting off with two sides of your steering wheel. Left hand side is predominantly for all of your cruise control functions. We have the little backward arrow, the speed gauge and the cross. That is the ability to activate the adaptive cruise control system. If you have the Pilot pack, this will of course activate the Pilot assist as well. If you need to intervene via the brake, the backward arrow will then reset the system and the cross will turn it off. If I was to turn the system on, it's going to tell me I can't because I'm not seat belted. But what would happen is on our screen here we would have a green speed appear, and then we can use the plus and the minus, which is above and below this little sort of haptic square that's here. And then we'd also have 3 lines and 1 line either side, which is your ability to adjust your distance. Now you may have noticed as I did that these actually do something entirely different when we're not on cruise control. And you can just about see on the screen it's showing us that by pressing up we can change the one pedal drive system to on and off. We can activate performance mode by clicking the left button, and the speed limit warnings by clicking the bottom button. So that is all accessed through this left hand side of the steering wheel. The right hand side is then your control over infotainment and some of the other aspects to do with the vehicle. So for example, the message that's coming up here that I'm not belted in, click OK, that clears the message. Otherwise, if I click that OK button, that's mute and unmute of the radio, volume up and down, and change channel left and right, which isn't just for the radio. That could be if you've downloaded Spotify, Tidal, or generally listening to Bluetooth media. That is your control of volume and track, radio station, whatever it may be. We then have got voice activation, which I'll come back to in a minute. The ability to alter what type of screen we have in front of us, whether you want just range and speed, Google Maps, or the driving view. So this will show up other vehicles around you, the lane keeping aid system in work. So it's quite a comprehensive little menu. And then the bottom button just brings up a little menu, which again, you can use these buttons up and down to have a look at different aspects for the vehicle. And then from that, we then have two stalks on the column. Left hand side is all of our wiper functions. So this little scroll wheel allows us, you can see just about on the screen here, to change the type of wipers. So off, auto, ×1, ×3. And then we have at the very end of that stalk the ability to wash the front window. But this is also indicators. So as a usual car would have, that's your indicator stalk. And it's also flash for high beam. The right hand side stalk is then your gear lever. Down for drive. You can see it's activated on the side here. Up for reverse, which will also activate your camera system. And then finally, park is at the very end of the dial, stalk, sorry. And that will then pop the car back into park and activate the handbrake. And there we have it. That is everything that is in front of us as the driver. Very quick side note, head-up display can be activated, can be turned on and off via the touchscreen. So we have it on here, so I can turn it off or pop it back on. And it will also allow me to use the right-hand side of the steering wheel to make adjustments to the head-up display. Brilliant. Okay, so through the middle, there's not an awful lot to worry about here. We do have a central armrest which opens, nice little cubby hole with twin USB-C points for charging. We then have hidden coffee cup holders, our volume and mute and unmute button. That is all that does. That's the only thing that will be happening from there. And then our wireless phone charger at the front. And now we move on to the biggest part of setting up the car is, of course, the touchscreen. Now, brilliant system, really nice, intuitive system to use. A lot of it is voice activated and a lot of it is customizable. So at the moment, we have the usual home screen. Across the bottom, we have all of these aspects here, which will always be at the bottom. They don't disappear. So things like the ability to turn on the Google Assistant, front demisters, the camera system, very quickly. Either side of the temperatures are heated seats, and depending on what spec you have, heated steering wheel, massage function, ventilation, so on and so forth. We then have the full climate control system and obviously our dual zone temperature. The climate control system, when it does open up, allows us all sorts of bits and bobs to do. So we have climate, parking, air quality, and some automated settings. And in here you can even go through and adjust things like the rear. So I can go back to the rear climate and I can adjust that from here as well. That is again something that can be done from the display in the back. And then the screen is then made up of 4 tiles and our map system. Now you can actually customize this. You can say, right, well, I don't want to have 4 tiles. I might have, sorry, fat fingers. I might just want to have 2 showing. And I might want to edit those and say, right, I want to have these 2 here to be Google Maps and parking camera, because those are the 2 that I regularly use. Or I could even have my favorite shortcuts, which will have multiple aspects on 1 tile. So there's lots of customization you can do with this, and any app that you download to the car will become available here to be put onto its own tile, as it were. From there, if I then want to change something, I can go into the particular app. So let's go, if we drop down menu there, and find the hidden aspects underneath. Again, things like changing your media, making phone calls, can all be done from voice activation. We also have things like our ambient lighting. Really nice system. We've got our solar line that goes across the vehicle, wraps around the car, and even wraps underneath all of the sort of decor panels, and we can pick and choose what we want that to be. And obviously it's a bit more impressive at night time, because then you'll be able to see it shining absolutely everywhere. This is also then taking us to all of our settings menus, but we will come back to that in a second. Map system is Google Maps. It's a fairly familiar system for most of us. We can either type into the box there, we can go into some of the shortcut menus, or we can even adjust settings menus, what type of notifications we want from the system, and even change the overall layout of the screen, like so. We can also, if I then tap the home button again, make that an entire map system. So get rid of everything else and just have Google Maps. One of the things you can do in the background as well is you can go into the charging stations aspect, and then you can filter what types of chargers you want, what payment types you want them to be. So if you've got a particular payment card, use that. But then that takes us back to the home screen. And then finally, across the top, as we've seen already, the edit function to be able to change what's going on here, what profile we're in, and then any notifications that we might have, which is in there. From there, we then have these two menus here. Now, the 4 square is all of our applications, and this is where, once you've downloaded, you put your Google account into the car, you can download more apps to the vehicle, and you can have anything that's car friendly. You can have Waze, Tidal, Amazon Prime whilst you're sat stationary, can all be downloaded here. And of course, one of the biggest ones, Apple CarPlay, is in here as a wireless system as well. And then finally, car view. We were on ambient lighting, but if we go back to the start, we have menu upon menu upon menu of aspects that we can change. Things from the shortcut menu, which allows us to fold the mirrors, make adjustments like the wing mirrors and the steering column. That's all done from within here. But then we've also got seat positions, what the screen brightness is doing, opening the glove box, and it is just the beginning. You can scratch the surface. A lot of these menus will have sub-menus hiding in them via the little triple dots, so there is endless amounts of bits and bobs to go through. Some of the biggest ones, though, are going to be things like your profile system and privacy. Now, profile, if you go into profile info, you will have the ability to pair your app, manage your privacy settings, link your Google accounts, Polestar accounts, whatever it may be, and have everything tied to you. So you can then save that to a key and have it so it just loads up your information. And from there, we can then switch between multiple profiles. We have a guest mode. There's endless amounts of bits and bobs you can do. But that is how you compare things like your Google account and your Polestar account. Bluetooth is then just simply done from in here. So you can then go in, pair a new device, and away you go. Wonderful. So, just quickly, what's above us here? Naturally, of course, one of the talking points is the rear view mirror, which is not a mirror, it is a camera. We can deactivate that completely if we want to. Or alternatively, we do have settings menu, which allows us to change a few different options that you can see down the side here. And we use the arrows and the little square to access whatever it is that we would like to do with that. Otherwise, what's above us here is hazard warning lights, SOS functions, that's emergency services, the connect function, which is our roadside assistance, and then obviously all of our lights as such. Okay, so now we find ourselves in the back of the vehicle. Now, from time to time, you may have passengers. Some of us will have them more than others. And we have, again, as part of a standard feature, this functionality here. So those in the back can control certain features of the car. There are also 2 USB-C points just hiding underneath for those who need to charge on the move. But what we've got is the ability to turn lights on and off via the little eyelids here. We've got a settings menu for just basically intensity, brightness. But we have temperature control. We have the ability to change direction of fan if we want to. But we've also got, if I tap on the little seat icon, we have the ability to change the heated seats and also the inclination or reclining aspect of the rear seats. And obviously the 2 outer seats have this feature. It's also applicable from the center armrest. So we have a little ring pull here. Give that a pull before you try and move the armrest, because it then releases it off. And what you'll notice is we then have these 2 buttons here, which allow me to adjust the seat. And then finally, because everyone finds it as a missing item, is your cup holders. And there we have it, a brief but hopefully helpful overview of the new Polestar 4. Naturally, of course, there are endless amounts of bits we can go through. There's menus, there's setups, all sorts of bits and bobs, but this is kind of more of an idea to give you a basis of knowledge of what the car can do, where to find certain things, and then to build from there. Hopefully this video has helped. Any issues, do let us know.